Trading Places didn't start as a comedy about greed. It began as a story fueled by luck, money, and people who never saw the twist coming. But beneath the jokes and the polished surface, it was the 80s showing just how fast a life could turn. A studio that tried to shut Jamie Lee Curtis out until she proved she belonged. The old tales that lit the fuse for the entire body swap idea. A country that adopted the film so fully, it became a Christmas tradition. These are 15 weird facts about Trading Places, where one switch flipped 2 lives, and the fallout went deeper than the joke. Number 1. Trading Places wasn't written for Eddie Murphy at all. It was built for Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. A reunion film called Black and White, meant to follow the success of Stir Crazy, and then everything collapsed. Pryor's freebasing accident nearly killed him and left him hospitalized for weeks. Overnight, the movie lost the star it was built around. Studios backed off. Wilder stepped away. The project looked dead, until the script crossed Eddie Murphy's desk. He was 21, fresh off Saturday Night Live, and hungry. He took the role Pryor couldn't play, and suddenly the movie had a new center of gravity. And that's the irony at the heart of it. A film about switching lives only exists because 2 careers traded places before the cameras ever rolled. Number 2. Trading Places came together one lucky break at a time, and one disaster at a time. If any piece of casting had gone the way it was supposed to, the movie would be unrecognizable today. Mortimer Duke was originally locked in. Veteran actor Ray Milland had the role until he failed his insurance physical. Overnight, he was out. The studio scrambled to find someone, anyone, who could fill the shoes of one of the film's main villains. That sudden vacancy resurrected Dan Aykroyd's career. He hadn't worked in years. Hollywood had practically forgotten him, and then a single doctor's signature put him back on the map. Clarence Beeks almost went to G. Gordon Liddy. Yes, the Watergate Liddy. He actually wanted the part. But the moment he read the gorilla gag, he backed out, furious that the movie made him the punchline. His exit opened the door for Paul Gleason, who turned Beeks into a perfect, icy corporate nightmare. And then there were the baggage handlers. The goofy little roles meant for Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, the McKenzie brothers themselves. They were set to do it until scheduling collapsed. One conflict, and the dynamic comedy duo vanished from the movie entirely. Every missed appointment, every failed physical, every scheduling accident shaped the cast we ended up with. Because in Trading Places, even behind the scenes, one truth kept proving itself. Fortunes flip fast, and sometimes the perfect cast is born from everything that goes wrong. Number 3. Jamie Lee Curtis didn't walk into Trading Places as a star. She walked in with a label the studio refused to look past. To Paramount, she was the Scream Queen, the Halloween Girl, the actress who ran from monsters and had no business carrying a comedy built on wit, timing, and nuance. Executives pushed back hard. They wanted someone glamorous, someone safe, anyone but her. John Landis wouldn't budge. He'd seen the sharpness in her line readings, the intelligence behind her delivery, and the confidence most actors spend years trying to fake. He kept telling the studio she could do more, if they would just look. Then everything shifted. Executives saw a single promotional photo of Curtis, the one that proved she wasn't just a horror actress, and the one that hinted she was willing to go topless for the role. Suddenly phones rang, approvals came through, and the same people who doubted her were pretending they always believed she had range. Curtis stepped onto set and made every one of them eat their words. She turned Ophelia, a character that could have been a throwaway, into the film's beating heart. Sharp, warm, grounded, and smarter than every man in the room. Critics called it her arrival. Fans called it her reinvention. Curtis later said it was the moment she finally earned her career. And that's the irony. The studio didn't think she belonged, and she walked away with the role that proved she did more than anyone expected. Number 4. On day 1 of Trading Places, the cast stood in a strange circle of generations that barely recognized one another. Ralph Bellamy and Don Ameche, legends from Hollywood's golden age, admitted they had never heard of Eddie Murphy or Dan Aykroyd. And the younger comedians weren't any better. They knew the faces, not the history. They had no idea they were standing beside men who had shaped half a century of film and radio. That gap could have created distance. Instead, it became the spark. The old pros watched Murphy improvise with raw speed. Aykroyd saw how effortlessly Bellamy and Ameche built a scene. 4 actors, 4 different eras, discovering each other in real time. And that's why the chemistry works. They weren't playing strangers learning new roles. They were strangers learning each other. Number 5. Don Ameche came from a different Hollywood, one built on clean language, clean images, and studio rules that stuck with him long after the old era faded. So when he reached Mortimer Duke's late film outburst, the single profanity in the script, he froze. He'd never said a line like that on camera. He didn't want this movie to be the first. John Landis pulled him aside and told him the truth. The moment only worked if Ameche delivered it himself. No workaround, no softening, no rewrite. The whole joke depended on his voice cracking under pressure. Don Ameche sighed, squared his shoulders, and fired it off in one perfect take. Decades of restraint shattered in a single line, and the cleanest man in the cast ended up delivering the film's dirtiest laugh. Number 6. After After John Belushi's death, Hollywood quietly doubted whether Dan Aykroyd could stand on his own. Studios saw him as the surviving half of a duo. Talented, yes, but maybe not a leading man without his partner's fire. Offers slowed, momentum slipped, and for the first time since SNL, Aykroyd felt the industry pull away. Trading Places changed that overnight. The role let him show everything Belushi always pushed him toward: sharp timing, wounded pride, and the kind of slow-burn desperation that made Lewis Winthorpe more than a punchline. Audiences loved him. Critics took him seriously again. Studios started calling. The movie didn't just give him a comeback, it gave him a second identity. The Dan Aykroyd who could carry Ghostbusters, win awards, and lead a film on his own terms. Number 7. The entire story of Trading Places didn't come from Wall Street. It came from a tennis court. Writer Timothy Harris kept playing against two hyper-competitive brothers who bet on everything: points, sets, pride, anything they could turn into a contest. Their arguments were legendary. Their rivalry was endless. Harris started wondering what would happen if two men like that stopped betting on games and started betting on people. That spark became the film's core. Nature versus nurture, arrogance versus opportunity. One life flipped with a single decision. A petty tennis grudge turned into a story about class, luck, and the cost of treating humans like wagers. Because in this movie, one bet is all it takes to trade someone's entire world. Number 8. Trading Places didn't invent the rich man, poor man switch. It inherited a myth that's been retold for centuries. From Mark Twain's Prince and the Pauper, to the Three Stooges turning class warfare into slapstick, to British comedies where nobodies get handed fortunes, the same idea keeps resurfacing. Flip two lives, and the truth comes spilling out. Timothy Harris and Herschel Weingrod weren't copying those stories. They were joining them. They pulled the old switcheroo into the Reagan-era marketplace, where money wasn't just status, but power, survival, and identity. Even Billy Ray Valentine's name came from a half-forgotten Twilight Zone character, a wink to the long history of stories where fate tilts overnight. What mattered wasn't the references. It was what the film added. Two comedians who made the old question feel brand new. Are we shaped by who we are, or by what the world gives us? And once Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd stepped into that tradition, the class swap myth got its sharpest version yet, because the rule behind every version is the same. Switch someone's life, and you'll find out who they really are. Number 9. The final showdown of Trading Places wasn't staged like a typical movie climax. It was dropped into a real storm. Chicago refused filming access, so John Landis moved the finale to the World Trade Center, right onto the actual commodities trading floor. And instead of extras, he used real traders, many of them filmed during actual working hours. The result was bedlam. This wasn't Hollywood chaos. It was the real market. Elbows flying, papers whipping through the air, phones ringing so loud they rattled your ribs. Traders shouted over one another with a language outsiders couldn't decode. Bursts of numbers, hand signals, and frantic jargon that moved faster than the camera could follow. Eddie Murphy later admitted he had no idea what half of it meant. He wasn't acting confused. He was confused. Landis told him, just follow your mark and don't get run over. So Murphy plunged in, swallowed by a crowd that didn't care there was a movie happening. That wide-eyed look on his face? Completely real. Even the shoves were unplanned. Traders were too locked into their rhythm to soften for the camera. And somehow, that chaos became the perfect ending. Because on that floor, the system wasn't pretending, and the actors had to survive a world that didn't care who they were. Number 10. Before he became the calm, terrifying kingpin of Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito was just another young actor hustling for work. In Trading Places, he shows up for only a moment. One of Eddie Murphy's cellmates in the cramped, chaotic jail scene. No spotlight, no close-up, just a quick flash of the future hiding in the background. Esposito later said he never forgot that day. Murphy was exploding into superstardom, and Esposito watched him turn a tiny scene into electricity. The two talked, joked, and connected like veterans sharing a secret world. Most viewers miss it entirely, but in that one frame, you can see Hollywood's future sitting beside its newest star. Two paths crossing long before either man knew who he'd become. Number 11. In a movie built on mistaken identity and swapped lives, one of the best swaps was hiding right in front of the camera. Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't the only Curtis on set. Her sister, Kelly Curtis, slipped into the film as Muffy, the country club socialite who suddenly circles Billy Ray once he gets rich. It wasn't a stunt cameo or a wink at the audience. Kelly was building her own career, and this tiny role let the two sisters work side by side without drawing attention to it. Most viewers never noticed the connection, but the cast and crew remembered seeing their chemistry. Quiet glances, shared jokes, the easy rhythm of two performers raised in the same world. In a story about fortunes shifting overnight, the Curtis sisters proved something sweeter. Sometimes the best Easter egg is family hiding in plain sight. Number 12. John Landis didn't pick Philadelphia for convenience. He picked it for meaning. To him, the city embodied American ideals like equality, opportunity, opportunity, and the belief that anyone can rise if they work hard enough. So he shot the movie on real Philly streets, weaving those ideals right into the background. Independence Hall, Rittenhouse Square, the frozen sidewalks, the street vendors. All of it was designed to contrast with the Duke's private world of privilege. The city became the movie's silent argument, the America we claim to believe in versus the America the rich actually live in. In a film built on exposing illusions, Philadelphia wasn't just scenery. It was the punchline, the birthplace of equality, hosting a story about how easily equality can be rigged. Number 13. Trading Places didn't arrive with blockbuster expectations. It cost just $15 million, modest even in 1983, and opened against bigger, louder studio projects. But Eddie Murphy's momentum was unstoppable. Word of mouth spread fast. By the end of its run, the movie had pulled in around $90 million domestically, becoming the fourth highest grossing film of the year. It wasn't just a hit, it was a rebuke. Hollywood had treated the film like a mid-tier comedy. Audiences treated it like an event, and every ticket sold was proof that sharp writing and great performances could outmuscle marketing budgets. In a story about fortunes flipping overnight, the movie lived that arc itself. It went from underdog to powerhouse, trading places with the blockbusters it beat. Catch that trouble brewing between the Dukes? If you want to jump back into the madness and watch that wild bet unfold all over again, you can grab your own copy through the links below. Blu-ray, DVD, or 4K Ultra HD. Thanks for the support. It really means a lot. Now, let's slip right back into the hustle. Number 14. Most Americans don't think of Trading Places as a Christmas movie. Italy does. Every Christmas Eve, like clockwork, Italian TV airs the film. Not as a novelty, not as a rerun, but as a ritual. Families gather the way they would for Home Alone or It's a Wonderful Life, waiting for Eddie Murphy to crack jokes and Dan Aykroyd to stumble through the snow in that filthy Santa suit. No one can fully explain why Italy chose this film as its holiday comfort watch. Maybe it's the snowy finale. Maybe it's the fairy tale swap. Maybe it's the idea that a life can change overnight. A very Christmas message wrapped in 80s chaos. Whatever the reason, once a year Italy presses play, and Trading Places becomes holiday canon. Number 15. The final joke in Trading Places wasn't just fantasy. It rewrote real financial law. In the movie, the Dukes try to rig the frozen orange juice market using a stolen government crop report. For decades, Wall Street laughed it off as exaggerated Hollywood chaos. Then regulators realized something embarrassing. The loophole was real. In 2010, the Dodd-Frank Act introduced a rule traders immediately nicknamed the Eddie Murphy Rule, a ban on using unreleased government data to manipulate commodity prices. A punchline meant for laughs became a legal precedent. Only Trading Places could turn a seafood-covered villain and a forged report into federal legislation. Bonus fact: everyone remembers the clean, clever dollar bill poster, Murphy and Aykroyd grinning like they just robbed Wall Street. But outside the US, Trading Places turned into a marketing circus. Overseas studios blew the actors' heads up to cartoon size, turning them into wobbling bobblehead giants tumbling through city streets or posing with mountains of cash like human mascots. Japan went even stranger, warping real photographs into big-headed caricatures that looked half movie poster, half bootleg fever dream, and in a way, it fit. A story built on switching identities ended up wearing a new face in every country, proving the film didn't just trade places on screen, it traded places in its posters too. Trading Places didn't tiptoe, it kicked the door in, taking aim at class, privilege, and the brutal game of chance we call the American dream, and that's why it lasted. Behind the laughs, the gorilla suit, and the chaos on the trading floor, it held up a mirror and said, "Look, this is how fast everything can flip." Eddie Murphy owned that flip. Dan Aykroyd survived it. Jamie Lee Curtis rewrote her future with it. And the villains? They learned the hard way that the world they controlled could turn on them in a heartbeat. Over time, the movie stopped being just a comedy. It became a ritual, a warning, a Wall Street rule people still quote with a straight face. So if this one ever hit you, if that final reversal still makes you grin, drop a comment. Tell us the moment that turned the whole story upside down for you, because Trading Places leaves you with one truth. Lives don't just change, they flip fast, and you never know who's holding the switch.